Well, let's try that again. Had some technical issues, probably from the severe storm last night, a little internet flutter just a moment ago. So I was talking about when my sons were young, and they loved going to the county fairs and the state fairs, and they liked going to um, Six Flags Great America when that was a thing. So they could feed their addiction to thrill rides, roller coasters, and Ferris wheels, and all of this stuff, other terrifying rides that Dad wanted no part of. I I don't know. I always get motion sick, and it's not really a fun time walking around these places in the heat when you're nauseated. So you know, for the most part, I let the boys ride whatever they wanted to ride, and I would just stay safely on the ground and wave up at them, and yeah, you go, mister. Um, but other things I'm down with. I'm not totally anti-fun. Um, that log ride, where you get to splash through the water and cool off on a hot summer day. I'm all about that one. Well, so there we are. We're at Six Flags. And one of us notices that there is this haunted house or fun house or something, and it isn't an actual ride. You walk through it. So I thought, okay, perfect. This is a dad kind of thing to do because I hate those rides, like I said. So the three of us decide we're gonna go into this haunted house or fun house, whatever it was. Well, I should have really thought that through because, there was a possibility that the event might not be fun. There might be some claustrophobia involved, might be some vertigo involved. And as soon as we walked in, I had a sinking feeling that maybe this wasn't going to be a harmless little event anyway, because the hired goons made certain that we were separated. So the three of us are now going down separate corridors in the dark by ourselves. And I swear, they saved the weirdest, craziest one for the adults. So we can hear each other. I can hear, my sons talking and reacting, and, when they're startled by something jumping out at them, they would, make a little scream noise and all of that. But we're separated. And I think, like I said, they purposely directed me as the adult down the winding path that got narrower and narrower, and the ceiling got lower the further I went into it, right? And so eventually the ceiling now has dropped to like maybe 4 feet. And the walls on either side of me are also pretty narrow, maybe 3 or 4 feet. And it's dark, and there are little rubber snakes and debris and such on the ground. And I suddenly start to hyperventilate because I don't like tight spaces. I especially don't like dark, tight spaces where I can't see anything in front of me except for this bright spotlight, like shining directly in my face. Well, so I'm like trying to calm myself down. I don't want to be a big baby. And I'm like, having to literally count my breaths to slow down my heart rate. And I'm crawling into the light, and I realize that I don't necessarily need to focus on the closing walls and the weird rubber stuff, snakes and such on the pathway. I just focus on the light shining in my face, the light directly in front of me. and things go better. I can, more readily ignore all of the tomfoolery and chaos all around me. But the space is getting smaller and tighter. And now I am on the verge of a full-on panic attack. So I decide I'm going to go back. I'm going to somehow wiggle myself around and go in reverse and go back to where I started, because this path is just not working for me. There's like no fun in this at all, and I can't breathe. So I managed to wriggle myself around, and I'm crawling back up, trying to get back to the place where I started. But the problem was, now the only light is shining on my butt. It's behind me. And so what do I see in front of me? Absolutely nothing, because I'm crawling into my own shadow. I must have been making some noise, because one of the hired ghouls above me somewhere realized that I was in some kind of distress, and so reassured me and told me, "Sir, turn around. Turn around, go back the way you were going. Just follow the light. It's going to be okay." Which is what I did. In John's Gospel, chapter 8, verse 12, it says, "When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, 'I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.'" I've been a priest for 15 years. And the work involved in building a viable Catholic parish that is open and affirming, open-minded, has female clergy, is respectful of all sexualities, that does not play games with annulments and other, legalistic scams. You'd think that would be an easy sell, but it is not. It is not, because many are still preferring to live in a religion of fear. The work of parish building is endless, thankless, exhausting. And it's taken everything in me for 15 years to just get this idea planted and going. And frankly, I'm wondering if maybe it isn't time to simply retire. I'd like to say that in those 15 years, I have consistently listened to the still speaking voice of God in my heart, that I have consistently, followed the light of God. But that isn't true. Sometimes I've gotten lost in my own BS. And in little ways and in big ways, I've turned away from the light and gotten lost in the darkness of walking in my own shadow. Remembering that afternoon at the funhouse helps me get a little perspective today. There are lots of things that a priest carries on his or her heart that no one knows except another priest. A lot of worries, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of waking up in the middle of the night, wondering, what does God need from me? But the truth is probably a lot simpler, because my daily walk with God is really my primary task. And I've tried to do that for the last 65 years, but certainly not as consistently as God expects or as I expect of myself. But every time I have turned away from the light shining in my face directly in front of me, choosing instead to walk in the shadows of my own decisions and actions, I've always gotten in trouble. God is a God of light, and in God there is no darkness. That's what I'm holding on to right now. And I know from personal experience, no matter how dark this life seems, sometimes we are always able to find God's light simply by turning to God in prayer and surrendering our choices to God. That does not mean that life is going to be easy and all cupcakes, unicorns, and rainbows. It's not like that. Life's problems are not just going to disappear. Instead, we will find a way to deal with the issues. We'll find the strength to get up in the morning and offer everything that we are, everything, to God's purposes. If we pay attention, God is already reaffirming the truth that we already know. It's just a matter of us shutting up and paying attention. And that goes double for the clergy. Pray with me. Loving God of light, we open ourselves in the shadows this morning, wondering, worrying, preoccupied with so many things. Help us today to choose to stand in your light, to stay focused on the light directly in front of us, to resist the temptation to fix things by ourselves, and to simply be in your light. Send us today, in your mercy, a little sign that you are with us, that we matter, and that all of this is going to be okay. We ask this in the name of our brother and teacher, Jesus the Christ, the one who is, who was, and who is to come. Amen. God bless you.